So today we're going to be creating something pretty cool, I think. So it's kind of like this advertisement for this orange drink. The inspiration for this is the fact that I'm crazy about orange juice, and orange is actually my favorite fruit. So I thought I would create this image and kind of like show you guys how it's done. I am a little sick at the moment, so that explains why my voice is a little different than usual. Welcome back, everyone. I've been gone for a minute. I've actually been developing my second channel, which is kind of like my main channel, which is my photography channel, which is called Newman Photographs. You can check it out in the description below. On that channel, I cover everything that's to do with photography because I am a professional photographer. So if that is something you think you'd be into, the link is in the description. I also got this idea from this other YouTube channel called Nor Art. So thanks to him, he gave me this idea. He actually created something kind of like that, but I wanted to recreate it in my own style. And the stuff this guy creates is so awesome. He's actually way better than me in Photoshop, but I actually use his creation to practice and improve my own skills. So I'm not literally copying what he's doing, but I'm taking the idea, the inspiration, and adding my own touch to it, if that makes sense. All right, so with no further ado, I'm going to show you how I created this beautiful image of this fresh juice poster. And by the way, if you want to use this as a template, if you want the project file, you can download it using the link in the description below. It is on Gumroad, and if you do get it, it'll go a long way in supporting me and my channel. So I really appreciate you for that. So this isn't going to be a step-by-step tutorial, but I'm just gonna kind of break down what I did and the thought process that went into creating this image. And by the way, if you do want to try this out for yourself from scratch, you will find all the same images that I used in the description below. So this whole thing started with just a few images, right? With an image of a orange juice can, a bunch of orange slices, this water splash, a hand holding a lemon, and then this lemon peel. I think this is what you would call it. Now, of course, this is lemon, but you won't really tell the difference. And plus, I'll change it from yellow to orange, so it'll look like it's coming from an orange. All right, so first things first, what I like to do whenever I get into Photoshop is get all the image in the canvas, right? Before I even start to make anything match up, I just put everything down, and then I try to get the rough idea of the final image already there. So in this step, I'm not focused on lighting or shadows or colors. I'm just focused on getting the idea right. So I started with the can, and then I twisted it just a little bit to try to get the framing that I want. And then I added the water splash. I put it right behind it. Then I made up the background. I made the background to be a little dark orange. Well, it's basically brown. Then I added these, I like to call them light rays, right? But I'm going to add a subtle Gaussian blur. And then I'm gonna add this mask here, and I'm gonna bring back the rays, but this time just in the area that I want, like this. And then I'm gonna add a second solid, but this time with a more bright orange. But I only want it to be visible behind the can, like this. All right, perfect. Then I'm gonna add the hand. Again, I'm not really focused on perfection right now. I quickly masked out the hand, and as you can see, it's not perfect. But in this first step, I'm only, focused on getting all the elements down on the canvas. I think I'm gonna place the hand like this. Yeah. I just wanna get that thumb to be behind the cans. All right, so the splash of the water is blue, but I don't want it to be like that. So what I did is I added a hue and saturation to play with the colors and the tones of the splash a little bit. Now, I wanted it to be orange to represent orange juice, but I also want it to be light. So I don't want it to be too dark. So what I did is I added a solid, and I added a clip mask, right? So that the orange solid, while the water splash takes the color of the orange solid. And then with a brush, I added back the hue and saturation, but more as lighting. As you can see right now, I'm using the hue and saturation to light up the water splash in different places. I basically want the water splash to be backlit because the main source of light is coming from the background. Now, I know I said I'm not really working on lighting right now, but this is just so I can see if it works or not. Okay, so next what I did is I isolated the can to work on it a little bit more because the can is looking a little bit flat. Right now, what I'm gonna do, because I'm satisfied with how the image looks, I'm gonna go in and start focusing on lighting, shadows, and making everything fit together, starting with the can. So for this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some lights and some shadows. Now, the main source of light is coming from behind the can, so the can will be backlit. That means that we'll have to add some nice rim light to the can and some shadows in front of the can. Now, so to do this, I'm adding a levels effect to get the shadows perfect. Then I inverted the layer mask, and I'm gonna bring back the shadows in, but this time only from the front, something like this. Perfect. And as you can see, it's already kind of coming together. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add another instance of levels, but this time I'm gonna make it super bright. I'm also gonna put it to screen mode, invert the layer mask so that we can paint the light back in. Then I'm gonna add the lighting to the rim. I'm also gonna add a tiny bit more lighting. Now, as you can see, this almost gives the can a 3D feel, right? Almost like it's, I don't know, it looks so much more dramatic and there's more depth to it, is the word that I'm looking for. There's more depth. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring back the elements. So I'm gonna bring back the background, I'm gonna bring back the lighting, I'm gonna bring back the water splash and the hand. So now I wanna work on the hand a little bit, okay? Because as we can see right now, the lighting is not matching at all. So I'm gonna add the levels to try to match the lighting. Well, first of all, to try to darken the hand a bit. First, I was having a hard time to make the hand fit. I didn't know how dark I wanted it to be. So it did take a minute to figure that out. But once I had something that I was kind of satisfied with, I wanted to add the highlights. So I added a solid and I made it bright orange. And this is so I can add it back into, well, the highlights. That's to say the edges of the hand. But as you can see here, the mask isn't actually good because it's really feathered. Again, this is because I did a quick and dirty mask in the beginning. So right now what I'm actually gonna do is redo the mask, but with the pen tool. Okay, so now the mask is much more sharp and it's a lot clearer and it looks a lot better. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the shadows. Once I added the shadows, I'm going to add the highlights. And then I want to add the fingers shadows on the can because the fingers are touching the can and that is going to cause some shadows on the can. So once I had that, what I did is I added the orange peel. So this was kind of tricky because I want some parts of it to go behind the can and some parts of it to go in front of the can. So as you can see, it took quite a lot of trial and error for me to figure this one out. But I ended up figuring it out. Once I had it, I went back and added some shadows on the peel because the front is going to be in shadow because the light is only coming from the back. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to add a levels as I did before. I'm gonna darken it, invert the layer mask, and then draw the shadows in some parts of the peel. Okay, so next up, what I wanted to do is add the slices of orange. Now, I had this image of the slices in a white background. I always have trouble removing the white background in Photoshop. Sometimes I end up having to go to After Effects to do that and then export it back to Photoshop. But I think it went pretty well this time. What I ended up doing is using the color range to select the orange color and then isolated it from the white background. Now, I did have to go back in and tweak it some more, but that's normal. And by the way, if you guys know of a better way to do this in Photoshop, please drop it in the comments below. I'll be greatly appreciated. All right, so now I definitely don't want to use all of those slices, just one or two that I can duplicate. So what I did is I selected just a couple, and then I started to figuring out how I wanted to place them. Now, I want the slices to be in movement, kind of like they're leaving the center of the image and going towards the camera or past the camera. And then I'm adding some motion blur. So for this, I'm adding the path blur, right? And I want the blur to be really directional to show the movement. Now, what this is doing is it's adding the blur to the whole orange slice. I don't want that, right? I only want it to be at the bottom of the orange slice. So what I'm gonna do is on the layer mask of blur effect, I'm going to erase the parts that I don't want the blur to affect. And I'm going to repeat the same process for all the other slices. Perfect. So the next thing I did is I took that exact same water splash and I added it to each different slice, but in a different way so that it's not just duplicated, right? Each slice has its own style of water splash. And then I ended up with something like this. Now, what I wanted to do is add some text because I thought that it would be great with some text. So actually what I did is I just added some text and I wrote fresh juice on it. Now, to me, figuring out the text was kind of tough because I wasn't sure what I wanted it to look like. So I added some stroke, I changed the colors, and I thought I had something that I was fine with. This, I thought I was gonna be fine with that. But then I went back and changed it to be this, right? So essentially, I removed the stroke and I manually added in the lighting and the shadows. So it looked something like this. But then I still wasn't satisfied with it. So then what I did is I added back the stroke and finally I had something that I liked. Again, as you can see, I'm figuring this out as I go. It's a lot of trial and error. Now, the final thing that I did is I wanted to add a water splash in front of the can as well. So that is one of the final things that I added, one of the final elements. And again, the very final element that I added was just a camera raw filter. Now for the camera raw filter, I raised the highlights, the whites. I decreased the clarity to add this glow to the image. I feel like decreasing the clarity is really great for adding some glow. I increased the texture and the sharpness because once you decrease the clarity, it actually makes the image a lot softer. So to compensate for that, I raised the texture and added some sharpness. And after about a couple hours of intense work, trial and error, and figuring things out, I finished with this. Now this is the final image. Again, if you want to use this template for your own drink or for your own use, you can get it on my Gumroad page. Now you will get the template just as it is, just as you saw it in this tutorial, with all the effects, everything already applied. You can just change the text or change whatever you want to change. If you do end up getting it, it'll go a long way in supporting me and my channel, and I would really appreciate it. I've got a few more of these style videos coming up. I've been having a lot of fun doing these. And yeah, I can't wait to show you guys what I've got planned. So this is the final image. I hope you guys like it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. If you want to do this, give it a try for yourself. I highly encourage you to do so. You can find all the images that I used in the description below, along with the link to my second channel, Human Photographs, which is my photography channel, where you can check out all my photography work. If you've enjoyed this video, learned something new from it, or found it entertaining, make sure to show your support by leaving a like on the video, sharing it with your friends, or even subscribing to my channel. My name is Samuel Peter. Thank you so much for watching. Keep creating, stay creative. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one.